now asked the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau to conduct a comprehensive new series of Boeing 787 simulator tests and re-examine evidence relating to. Of course, now viewers, we're getting you latest updates as far as this is concerned. Now, in a letter to the Director General of the AAIB, FIP President Captain C.S. Randhawa said the pilot's body has received a submission from Advocate D. Michael Andrews of Beasley Allen, a U.S. law firm representing passengers and families affected by the accident. Now, this, viewers, as I was telling you earlier, now we're talking about the Federation of Indian Pilots, which has now asked the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau to conduct a comprehensive new series of Boeing 787 simulator tests and re-examine evidence relating to the deployment of the aircraft's Ram Air Turbine in the crash of Air India flight AI-171, arguing that simulator results do not support key timings contained in the Bureau's preliminary report. The letter centers on the timing of RAT power generation following fuel interruption. According to FIP, the AAIB preliminary report stated that fuel system interruption occurred at 8:08:42 UTC and that hydraulic power from the RAT was produced approximately 4 to 5 seconds later. Captain C.S. Randhawa, President, Federation of Indian Pilots, is joining me. Captain Randhawa, welcome. And what would you like to say about this entire incident?
Good morning. What we have been contemplating right from the time the preliminary report of AAIB has come out last year on 11th of July 2025, that there is a problem with the timing because they do not correlate to the technical manuals which are there. And since March, we had taken up with the AIB to carry out a simulator session to ratify these timings which they have mentioned in the preliminary report. However, no simulator was done, and that led us to, with the support of Michael Andrews, who's representing Beasley Allen attorneys in US, and he conducted the simulator with, replicating the accident. So they found serious anomalies. Now these are supportive. What the results have come out in the simulator session, they are supportive by even they are backed by the technical manuals. Now, what the simulator has clearly identified that to generate hydraulic power, it takes approximately 18 seconds. Now, if the RAT, now in the report, in nowhere they have mentioned that when the RAT was deployed. Now, the RAT deployment also takes place about 5 to 6 seconds. And when does the RAT deploy? RAT deploys in case there is all hydraulic failure, that means 3 hydraulics are there, total electrical failure, or both engine failure. So in this case, the RAT has started producing, they're saying, hydraulic power. Now the second engine cut off at 43. How can it generate in 4 seconds hydraulic power? So it is now what we had propagated from the from the frames of the photographs which were available, the good quality ones, that there is some protrusion from the belly of the aircraft, which we have marked and sent it even as an exhibit to my letter, which I have sent it yesterday to the AIB. So what I am saying is the timings do not match. There is a mismatch, and we feel that towards the later stages of takeoff or beginning, that means the initial liftoff, the RAT has been deployed. Now, as we are saying that the worst case scenario 18 seconds, but it can vary to 17 to 18 seconds in the test reports. If you see, those 10 tests have been carried out. There is even a mismatch on the timings of the V1 and the VR speeds. Like the V1 speed averaging in our tests, or most of the tests, 41 seconds and going up to 46 seconds, whereas they're showing 56 seconds. Then achievement of VR, 58 seconds, and at an average from 40 to 48 seconds. So there is a mismatch. Moreover, there have been, this is quite indicative that there is some electrical fault requiring further investigation. Then the sole survivor, in his, initial testimony, he has said that he heard a loud bang and he found dimming of cabin lights. Now, cabin lights are switched off for takeoff and landing. So how did he? That means the light was flickering. The next point is the ACAR's maintenance messages transmitted between 0753 and 0808 UTC on that day. Okay, and the damage which is there to the EFR images which are produced in the preliminary report, they are all pointers are towards the electrical failure. Now, I have got more reasoning towards the electrical failure. Now, when the aircraft took off, it is supposed to retract the landing gear. The landing gear did not retract. Okay, again pointing towards some electrical problem. The landing gear has been found down, and the lever was down when it crashed. The second point, again leading towards it, is that when both the engines have failed.
Randhawa, I request you to stay on with me. I'm just getting a breaking input. I'll come back to you. Now, there's a letter, viewers. Now, according to the letter, is the RAT power generation timestamp recorded on aircraft VT, A and B is accurate, and the simulator tests are representative of actual aircraft performance. The results would suggest that the RAT had already deployed and begun spinning before any fuel interruption occurred. The submission argued that the tests indicate the RAT deployment may be unrelated to fuel system changes and instead may be a symptom of faults occurring prior to any fuel disruption. So, now the letter also referred to images reproduced in the AAIB preliminary report showing the RAT visible immediately after takeoff, and claimed that still images extracted from Ahmedabad airport security camera footage appeared to show that the RAT already deployed on the runway before aircraft rotation. It said these observations taken together tend to indicate that the RAT deployment, a potential symptom of electrical system failure, was not caused by alleged pilot-induced fuel system changes. And Captain Randhawa, what do you have to say about these developments?
Absolutely, you rightly put across, I would say, what we have already put up, pen down in the letter and the email. And what we request is now for the AIB, like I have been requesting since March this year, one of my letters which have been sent to AIB and to the ministry is to carry out a simulator evaluation and ratify these timings. And they should also take into consideration what the technical manuals are saying. But unfortunately, nothing has been done, I think, on this regard. Though the letter they had written to us that they have received the letter, but what they have done, we are not aware. And I don't think so that the simulator has been carried out by the AIB. And to this effect, I would like to take you back, when the accident of the Airbus 320 of the crash landing, landing in Hudson Bay by Captain Sully. When that took place, the pilot was alive. Initially, they blamed him, NTSB. But subsequently, about 30-35 times, this simulator was carried out, and then 30-35 times, each time they tried to land the aircraft at LaGuardia Airport, It could not land. Each time it crashed. So simulators is a very vital piece of information which it replicates the aircraft, and a lot of things can be tested and verified during the investigations. So we have pleaded to the AAIB to carry out the simulator sessions, and also if they carry out, let them if our simulator is not in agreement, then they should come out with it. Otherwise we want them to carry this out, and because then their whole theory changes. What they are saying is they were concentrating only on the fuel switches latching, which we have been saying from day one that is not the case. So they were on a wrong track totally. So which we have been challenging all through different letters, almost more than 20 letters and emails I have written to the AIB and to the ministry. And it is all backed with evidence on the technical manuals and data. Now, in this case also, I have backed it with the simulator report.
Right, Captain Randhawa, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast. And now the pilot's body has asked investigators to correlate those elements with recorded aircraft data to establish a coherent sequence of events and determine whether any electrical system anomalies contributed to the accident. The letter requested that AAIB conduct Boeing 787 simulator tests in the presence of an observer nominated by FIP to independently verify both the acceleration profile contained in the preliminary report and the relationship between RAT deployment, RAT hydraulic power generation, and fuel control switch movement. FIP further requested that Air India Engineering and Boeing be asked to decode fault and status information contained in a car's maintenance messages transmitted between 7:53 UTC, about 14 minutes before the takeoff roll began, and 8:09 UTC when a Mayday call was transmitted. Atul Ranjan is joining me with more details. What can you tell us, Atul?
Well, the pilot's union is not really saying that it knows a particular cause of the crash. What it is arguing is that there are unresolved technical questions and that investigators should conduct more tests before reaching final conclusions. Now, obviously the preliminary report that was out about the incident suggested that the fuel supply to the engine was interrupted first, and the Ram Air Turbine, the emergency device that deploys when there is a major loss of power, that began providing power to the engine a few seconds later. But the simulator tests that the pilot body is citing indicate that the RAT would normally take around 18 seconds to generate power after fuel interruption, and not 4 to 5 seconds as was indicated in the report. So what the pilot body is essentially trying to say that if the simulator findings are correct, the RAT may have deployed before any fuel interruption occurred, which essentially they tend to argue is that there could be a possible electrical or a technical problem happening first, rather than the fuel issue that could have triggered the incident. Basically, in a way, questioning the preliminary report and its findings, and instead suggesting a different direction for the for the investigation, and to focus more on the technical and electrical problem instead.
All right, stay on, Atul. Now, the FIP viewers is attached a summary of simulator observations comparing the AAIB timeline with test results. According to the document, RAT hydraulic power became available approximately 18 seconds after fuel interruption in the simulator, compared with 4 to 5 seconds in the AAIB timeline, a difference of about 14 seconds. The letter also compared takeoff performance figures. It said the AAIB timeline recorded achievement of V1 at 56 seconds and VR at 58 seconds. Simulator testing reportedly produced a mean V1 time of 40.9 seconds in 9 static takeoff tests and 46 seconds in 1 rolling takeoff test, while VR was reached at a mean of 42 seconds in the static tests and 48 seconds in the rolling takeoff test. Atul, back to you on this.
Yeah, well, essentially what they're arguing is that, the simulator findings are correct. Then the RAT may have deployed before any fuel interruptions, because what they cite the simulation test that they have conducted, they say that rather than taking 4 to 5 seconds that the report indicates, a RAT deployment usually takes 18 seconds. So essentially they are pointing to any technical or mechanical failure that may have caused the fuel supply issue. Now the pilot body wants the investigators, the AAIB, to examine airport CCTV footage, aircraft maintenance message, and reports from survivors about a loud bang as well, is what they have also mentioned in their letter. And also the dimming of lights before the crash is all such aspects that the pilot's body has highlighted, and it wants the investigative body to focus on that as well. Now it has also sought an independent observation of stress simulator tests and a deeper review of the aircraft type variety as well, the Boeing 787 that was concerned. So clearly a different take from the pilot's body, and it is not really impressed by the preliminary findings, so it suggested that the fuel supply was essentially...
All right, Atul, thanks for joining me with those details. And now viewers shifting focus. An Ola cab driver has been arrested in Bengaluru for allegedly